Okay. G'day everyone. This is Rangadad. Not financial advice, just the way I'm looking at the market. Yeah, good day yesterday for crypto, at least Bitcoin. Question is, will it continue? And what will the pullbacks look like? And where to? Where's it going to go to the upside? So I guess a quick summary. I haven't actually looked at the rest of the market yet myself. Just jumped straight on here this morning. But obviously we've had this target in here at about 82 for a while. There are some other signals that suggest it could be 85, but somewhere in that, around that 82 to 85, I think it's probably going to see a pullback. Just depends how quickly we get there too. Like, this is a pretty high market cap these days, so it'll move slower, in smaller moves, like each time, over time. Eventually, I do expect it to probably get into the 120s to 130s. It could go higher. There is a potential target at 220, but that would be a pretty significant blow-off top situation, I would think. And honestly, I don't think it will get there. I think we'll have a rougher year and a rougher sort of ride to the top of this cycle than what people think. I'm already seeing it in just the way pullbacks are happening. So yeah, it's Wall Street's bitch now. We're in their world. So anyway, with that said, obviously we had some pretty good reads around here from what was going on under the hood in Wall Street and a few other things. Where's my volume profile? There we go. Obviously that value area high was pretty critical level. Volume profile's pretty well going to be out of the window now on the higher time frames. I might even put another one on. Starting there. I don't want to lose that one. I want to hide it. Yeah, that's not going to be fantastic, but anyway. So I'll sort that out for next time. Yeah. Expanding volatility, upside momentum shift. So pretty good day for Bitcoin. Let's have a quick look. I'll have a quick look at the 15-minute just because I think it's actually potentially close to topping here. Doesn't really look like it on the 15-minute just because you're outside that one standard deviation Bollinger Band. It is testing these highs. It is a recovery of that wick, basically. The reason why I suggest it might be done for the time being or somewhere near here. I mean, even to be honest with you, it might not be. But what we're getting close to is this bunch of short liquidity in here. So it obviously made that push up, took a lot of this stuff out. that's come in as a fairly recent target. It does look like it's kind of pulling back a little bit after taking this block here, in which case, yeah, pull back into 74,100 wouldn't be out of order, but it could also try for this. It's just, if Bitcoin wants to range and wants to draw in some liquidity and take some liquidity in this area, it's going to range for a little bit. And, you know, we're still 4 hours away from closing the daily, which I do expect to close, you know, pretty bullish for a daily candle. I would expect it to close probably just a little bit down from its highs, but it could still push to a new high from here. So 76K wouldn't be out of the question either, but I would expect it to pull back. So, you know, it's gonna probably try and do some fake outs here, but that's, you know, expanding Bollinger Bands to that degree is never really a bad sign. It's just whether it wants that liquidity before pulling back and sucking in more liquidity. Because as it, if it pulls back from here, the orders in here that it can liquidate are just going to grow. That's what you get. Like, you get this move up, you get the orders start coming in, comes down, takes the liquidity that it got in here, moves back up, gets some more liquidity coming. You know, it's just going to chop around for a little bit until it's satisfied that, yep, we've got some orders to move into. Obviously, on big breakouts, that's a little less important, but you still have to have someone prepared to sell. And there is a fair chunk around that 76K mark. What it looks like we're potentially doing is coming up just into that 75-700 range. There's a few short orders in here on CoinAnk as well. So yeah, I'm kind of expecting it to at least come into that block there. Once you crack an all-time high, it can run a little bit further. So that's why 76K is kind of in the picture as well. But a 10% day on Bitcoin's pretty substantial. Interesting, we got a little spike in the open interest as well, just during this run up. Typically, that might mean they will actually pull back and wipe that out. Have to wait and see. But yeah, generally open interest is still increasing across the board. That was our big sort of indicator that we were getting close to the bottom, one of the big indicators. Decent high signal here. Not exactly hitting another high signal there yet, but even if it pulls back from here, that's not a bad one for just an intermediate sort of high. People are taking profits on the way up on these moves, so that's not a bad sign either. The Bitcoin longs, as we sort of suggested yesterday, people are starting to take profit. That was kind of the flip in the mentality of how to look at the Bitcoin longs chart. So now we started this trend. As Bitcoin's breaking up, making new highs, kind of looking for these pauses in here. Otherwise, as it's going up, you expect these guys to be closing their longs. Okay, they've been positioning throughout this whole range for the move up. A lot of them were buying all the way through down to this bottom here. So they're going to be in pretty decent profit and they're going to start taking it. Saw the same thing kind of in these moves up here. So just accumulation on the way down and then taking profit on the way up. Okay, that's just the way these guys are gonna play the game. The big guys, it's the way they do it. So obviously they were accumulating hard from this bottom here and just kept accumulating on this other dip as well. And then they were just happy. They were sitting on it for literally, I think that was like a year, June 22 to March 23, nearly a year. They were just sitting on positions. And then they started to take some profits again once they were back in profit. So expect the same thing. This will probably just give us an idea of when we've sort of reached an absolute peak, when you start to see this go flat again. But even little pauses will show us where there's probably a potential, I guess, pause in the run up. Okay. So the fact that Bitcoin longs are dropping is actually not a bad sign. Suggests we got a reasonable way to go. All right, let's have a quick look at NASDAQ. So the Qs had a pretty big day. That's a new high, I think. Yeah, new all-time high on the Qs. NASDAQ itself made a new all-time high. Big moves in the after hours. I had to double check. I had to double check that the numbers were right. It was like 1.5% just in the pre-market or after hours stuff yesterday. Market definitely liked the result of the election, as we sort of suspected. It was posturing for a Trump win with very little downside if Kamala won. So that's what happened. This was a pretty good indicator as well. The advanced decline line had ticked up above those moving averages. So pretty good sign we were going up. Big vector candle on the US 100. Not so much on the E-minis. That's anyway, new all-time highs on NAS, including on the equal weight. The equal weight's gone out. Wow. Again, equal weight's kind of what I'm going to be watching for proper market pullbacks in the future. Equal weight SPY, big day, pull back a little bit, but that's a massive breakout. New all-time high. Actually, wow, we got bloody close to that 6,000 mark too. I mean, shit, if we reclaim this trend line, that would be massive. But it's also, this right here is also a very good spot for, well, just above here is a good spot for it to pull back, close that gap. That'd be a big move back down. But that's an island reversal too. Shit, didn't see that before. Island reversal on the S&P 500, that could continue to run. And that would be a pretty massive trend line to get back above. Don't worry about 6,000. 6,000 would be in the rearview mirror pretty quick, I think, if this continues. But that's a very steep climb on the S&P 500. It's a little bit crazy, but markets are expected to start getting crazy over the next 6 months or so. So hold on to your hats. It's going to be a wild one. Geez, equal weight. That's a gap. IWM. Wow. 5%, 5.7% move on IWM. Holy shit. That is nuts. I mean, I thought markets were pricing this shit in, but how often do you get a 5% move on IWM? I know it moves more than the others, but that seems just okay. That's a 6.2 one there, so definitely not unheard of. But that's huge. Broke straight through our resistance. I potentially want to see some pullback into that resistance. It was a fairly big resistance level here, so the fact we've broken it, hopefully it's not another false break like that was. Kind of want to see some pullback and retest to that level, and then another break above it to really confirm that the market's good, the market's gonna move on, and the carry trade could be back in play at the moment, so that could push markets quite a bit higher, especially with FOMO. Like big institutions aren't particularly commodity trade advisors and hedge funds and stuff. They're not immune to FOMO because they've got to try and beat the market, and when the market jumps 5% on them, um, you know, they got to try and ride that wave as much as possible. So XLI is doing well. XLY, XLP is smashing it, including the equal weight. I mean, this was sort of another indicator that the stuff beneath the hood was still going okay. The consumer staples versus what is it? Consumer staples versus consumer discretionary. And consumer discretionary is running in respect to staples. That's suggesting that the market thinks everything's okay. KRE, massive move on KRE. 12% on the banks. Holy shit. This is kind of a play around, I think, Trump is supposed to be bringing in a lot of deregulation. So definitely this could lead to the big blow off top that we've been waiting for. Probably next year, sometime end of next year at this stage. If markets really like this and are resilient to the issues that are going on, then you could see some pretty insane moves to the upside before we get a big correction. What's that? ITB. So home construction, little bounce, but didn't get anywhere near as much love as the others. So that's a little bit concerning. When we were looking at ITB, XHB, sort of when you look at them compared to the GFC, for instance, they did roll over quite early. So this continues a downside trend, then it sort of confirms that we are expecting markets to have a pretty major correction in the future. But it's it is a leading indicator for pullbacks. DJI Gold, massive day on DJI Gold. That's a huge change. DJT, what happened to that? Huh. DJT Gold still uptrending, but it's pulled back quite a bit. Pretty major move though. Still 6% move to the green. It's just that must have been hugely positive to start with. It was up 34%. Yeah, right. Okay. So DJI and DJT, big moves. Like this this would be trying to stop a freight train at the moment, but you'd kind of expect pullbacks, in the next few days. Potentially the FOMC meeting results may cause some havoc, but holy shit, the VIX. That's a massive drop on the VIX too. Wow. This could be a decent move to the upside, hey? I mean, I don't know if it's been confirmed or anything. I haven't looked at the news whether Kamala's conceded or anything, but something happened in that regard that could really move the market as well. This will be an interesting read today. My guess is it's well and truly up here somewhere, if not higher. So again, the skew was kind of suggesting in the last couple of days that we were going higher. Pretty good leading indicators that we've been using lately. Chinese market didn't get as much love as I thought it might. Probably because Trump's all about tariffs with China. I don't think that's going to hold it back too much. I think their relief. Oh, shit, sorry. Their relief package is probably going to override that in terms of this chart. But let's wait and see on that one. Japanese market liked it. TLT. Wow. A huge drop on TLT. Bonds have had it. Yeah, the bond market definitely thinks higher for longer. Look at that. No, that's the opposite, isn't it? Bond market doesn't like this so much. Generally, when yields are going up, people are selling bonds because they don't think the economy is in that great a situation. We do have a weird market going on. Bond market doesn't like it, but then again, like there was this pump yesterday, and that was another thing suggesting that under the hood we still had some upside to go. You're looking for turnarounds in this indicator. See what happens. High yield junk, not a bad day, but again, these aren't looking strong. So TLT pulling back's an interesting one. It is suggesting that the bond market in particular, doesn't like what's happening in the economy at the moment. It's kind of having a bit of a tantrum against the rest of the market. Typically, that's not a good situation to be in. Can be a massive leading indicator though. It's really like it started pulling back here well before you actually got the drop in the S&P 500. I think it was the same up here too. So it started pulling back pretty hard, pretty well all through, even at the highs there. Big drop on TLT. And then we topped out. It was January 22. So interesting situation there. Does show you when it's going to be one to keep an eye on, I think. You want to see this turning around and actually going with the market. Otherwise, this could be a short-lived sort of run. At the moment, there's more indicators suggesting it's okay. It's going to keep going, but it's shaky. Holy crap! Copper. What the fuck happened to copper? Sitting right on that 200 EMA. Big volume too. Something funny going on here. Could be China. I mean, that pullback in China and Trump's policies around China might be suggesting that commodities might have a big dip. Gold, good pullback. This is a pretty good area for finding some support. I actually did manage to get out of, I got out of a portion of my gold just to take some profits out of it yesterday morning. So I'm glad that went through before the drop, but yeah, interesting. Could keep dropping actually. Like, could retest this support in here and just range in this region for a little bit. It was a pretty good region of trading to find a range in. I definitely won't be buying back into it yet. This could bounce up into the 2700 again, just to recover some of this vector candle, just like it sort of did on this candle here. But yeah, it's kind of a no man's land spot at the moment. If it closes back above the support level, then it could actually just be a bit of a bounce. But I mean, that's pretty negative on gold. I think a lot of people taking profit. Not huge volumes though, too. A lot of these moves, there weren't big volumes coming into the election, so I think it's going to take a few days for this to really settle out, and we can figure out what's actually going on under the hood. Silver got slammed as well. US oil has a bit of a bounce. 50 EMA needs to kind of hold here, I think, for it to keep going up. I would kind of expect that to keep going up too. Momentum's still to the upside. Yeah. Dixie had a good day. That's going to slam most currencies against it. So 105, it's pretty well recovered, this vector candle as well. Yeah, I think it's going to be a volatile couple of days still until everything around the election's fully settled down, but also the FOMC meeting. People are getting into US dollars though, so this is where the carry trade seems to be coming into it. Japanese yen has been slammed, obviously. Borrowing yen and trading it for US dollars, essentially, which could push the US market quite a lot higher. When that starts to unwind again, then it's another thing to watch out for as an indicator that we might be going down significantly. Aussie dollar's kind of recovered a little bit here, but Jesus, you kind of expecting that to pull back a little bit more if US dollar's going to still be strong. And we haven't, like, we got so close to this vector candle in here. I kind of expect Aussie dollar to pull back a bit more, potentially into the 64-cent region. Yeah, I didn't expect this amount of volatility on some of these assets after this election. Aussie dollar versus euro is pretty good. Wish it was like that when I was there earlier in the year. Interesting, the Brazilian reals actually increased. Bouncing off a key level that we flagged quite a while ago, though. Good levels there for bounces. I mean, if it gets down to 16 cents on the dollar, it could get nasty. I'm just surprised it's bounced relative to the dollar. It's interesting. Great Britain pounds come down again. It's going to take a few days for this to settle down, I think. We got a new read on any of these yet? No. Percentage of stocks above 50-day moving average has obviously jumped. That's not a surprise. Mag 7's jumped. Hasn't broken any all-time highs though, so there's a lot of the smaller stocks are going to be winning today as well. Jesus, that's Tesla's obviously a fan favorite at the moment. I think that's actually fuck. That would have been a good trade. Just, I mean, the underlying market was going bullish, probably because they were expecting Trump to win. As soon as Trump won, of course, Tesla's going to freaking skyrocket because it's going to have the government on its side, which it hasn't had for 4 years. That was the whole reason Elon was all for Trump, because he's just been screwed over by the Democrats so hard. Anyway, there's an opportunity I should have seen coming. 2 and 2 equals 4. So, yeah, good move on Tesla. Again, try and predict where this is going to stop. It's actually just closed a gap, I think, from way back in July of 23. So, off that island reversal, this thing, God knows when it's going to stop. I almost kind of want to see something weird happen in the market so that we can sort of recover and close a lot of the gaps that have occurred, just to return to a little bit of normalcy. But I don't know that's going to happen anytime soon. Big vector candle here up around 358 for Tesla. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where it gets to. There's not a lot. I mean, 331 would be a good spot for a pullback. But yeah, 360 odds on the cards relatively soon, which is a pretty decent move from here. 360. Yeah, 25% from here still. Nvidia, it's really liked that as well. Good bounce off that trend line, as we pointed out yesterday. Google, yeah, kind of just recovering vectors at the moment. Got to be a little bit careful with Google here. It may want to pull back once it has recovered this vector. Chances are it's going to go if the rest of the market's going though. Apple's a bit meh, surprisingly. Again, it could be around the China stuff. They do manufacture a lot over there, I guess. Triple M liked it. Again, Triple M was kind of a decent runner recently, but it's got a big vector candle here that's gonna need to break above that to get really excited. It might struggle to do that. Meta, not exactly exciting there. Again, some more vector candles, it's going to struggle to get through, but it did also pull back and it's pretty well reconfirmed this level. Want to see a bit more of a move away from that to confirm it, but good trend line for a pullback. You'd be hard pressed to be selling it at this point. AMD finding a bit of support. Airbnb, good move. A little bit of a pullback, but SMCI had earnings yesterday and still dropped. Actually, yeah, revenue wasn't as high, but they've actually given a bigger dividend. So that's probably going to hold it. It's probably getting close to a bottom here, I would think. But that's a pretty big, been a pretty big move to the downside for a $6 billion company quarterly, revenue wise. Like, that's worthwhile looking at to see if their fundamentals are any good. I think there's a fair bit of upside there if they are. It's over, like, it's a 6x just to their all-time high from here. But it might be a shit company, so. And ASML too, like, biggest chip manufacturer in the world. Anyway, Stellantis is kind of still trying to get out of this hole that it's in. Still not a great looking stock, but the consumer market goes well, then that probably will find a base. Ford is continuing that bounce that we pointed out yesterday. So again, that's kind of an indicator that at the time, for the time being, it's suggesting there's support for this move. But you know, the market likes it at least. Whether the overall economy goes that way, we'll have to wait and see. Ethereum's finally done something. It did lag behind Bitcoin a bit yesterday. Trying to break inside this channel. Hopefully we get some confirmation of that and move to the upside. And then basically the next stop for Ethereum should be, it's probably going to have a bit of a pullback around the mid band, around 3,200, but I'd expect it to at least get to 3,600 over the next few months. Didn't end up leaving much of a gap on CME either. Oh wow, we have punched through into the 76,500. Interesting. Yeah, as I said, once you're above these this Bollinger and Bollingers are expanding, it's hard to sort of expect much of a pullback. Yeah, no signs of stopping yet. So good news all around. General market seems to be in support of it. Big volume on CME. Yeah. Probably in terms of picking a macro top here, I think I'm going to focus on the pullbacks into 74,300 is probably all you're going to get tomorrow. Maybe into this high 73, but once it's running like this, pullbacks are probably shallow. What was I saying? Yeah, sorry. Gonna be paying attention to the volume leaders, which I haven't teed up, so this may take a little while to actually to actually play out on my screen. I don't know why this is so slow, hey. I need a rewrite under the hood, I think. It's kind of old looking. Okay. Let's trade. A little bit of profit taking there by the look of it, but it did happen partway through that that consolidation too, so could have been just more buy-in. You're gonna, yeah. I'd like to see a little bit more price action before suggesting that this was a sell. Could be a take profit. There was a lot of buying in the last 6 months, but yeah, I do expect these guys to be taking profit on the way up. I mean, that is 12th largest trade of all time on this particular ticker. Yeah. See how we go with price action. But what I'm going to be looking for is if we're getting a lot of large trades and we're sort of consolidating at a high, then chances are it's going to pull back a bit. I don't think this is the case yet for this one, just on the strength of the move that we've had. Okay, that's this here sort of up only since that buy-in. Suggests that it could be accumulation. Yeah, none of these indicators that I use are suggesting any pullback quite yet. Probably need to see 1 or 2 red candles for that to be the case. Pretty strong breakout though on volume of that all-time high there as well. So see if it retests it and see what happens after that. All right. I'll have a quick look at Solana. Yeah, good run, Solana. Hit that target of 188. So you want it to sort of break and reconfirm above that, but at this stage, I'd say it's just a formality. Everything, every bit of momentum is pointing to the upside on most cryptos at the moment. Ah, fuck. Don't think I ended up getting a long in on that. I had a meeting that started right on the election coverage and didn't manage to place a lot of these sort of trades that I was kind of waiting for Bitcoin to move on. I did have longs on Bitcoin, but dang it, that would have been a massive move. I typically trade that at 10x leverage too. Oh well. There'll be more. All right. Global liquidity is kind of dropping a little bit as well, which is interesting. Nice divergence on Miro, the upside as well. Yeah, Pepe's no doubt had a good move. Doge obviously had a good move. That's nearly all-time highs, isn't it? No. What did we get to last time? 44. You would expect Doge to have a pretty good run this cycle. if Elon's running a government department that's literally called Doge. Okay, that'll do me. Go listen to the Gambler Spaces if it's on this morning on Twitter.